What is up, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, day traders, cloud swing traders. Hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic. Hope you guys had a great weekend. Hope the fathers out there had a good Father's Day as well. And hope you guys are ready to go. We got AJ in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to Amy, Andy, Bill, Daniel, George. Good morning to Jeff, Kevin, Lauren, Rob, Tim. Virginia is in the house. Good morning to you. Good morning to all my people out at YouTube land. We got Joe in the house. Good morning to me. Good morning to B. Jal. All my lurkers in the background of YouTube. They're just not going to say anything all day. It's okay. I still love you. Hit that like and subscribe button. I've got some bold predictions. I've got some bold predictions. 99% of the time they won't happen, but I'm just going to take a stab. I'm going to take a stab. Short trading week. We have a gap up. We had a little bit of a potential breakdown, sell off, pullback into still really just a good spot. And now you got a little gap up. You had some more missiles being exchanged, but no escalation in terms of other countries joining and things like that into Israel and Iran. So yeah, market's kind of liking that a little bit, which is good. Here's my prediction on a short trading week. We'll see if this happens, but I think if we hit all-time highs, it is this week. That's probably wild. Probably wild. We'll see. I'm just gonna take a stance every now and then. But that is a good gap and go for today. You still got for today some resistance, which I have two alerts set. So I have 601.92. The next one is like 602.65, and then we still got this 603.72. But wouldn't it be interesting to trap some more bulls before we make that next move? We just ran like crazy. We pulled back. We got fear, concerns, war, everything else, and then you get some kind of gap up, and we'll see if the bulls can hang in. Probably today, or we have to open tomorrow somewhere above this like 603.63, and I think that sets us up fairly interestingly enough. And then look at the weekly chart. The beautiful thing about Mondays is we have the opportunity to look at some weekly candles, which is even more important. So beautiful gap up, kind of taking some profits, nice move, inside day or inside week, very high end of this. We're gapping above the opening price of last week. Seems kind of bullish to me. Seems a little bit bullish. We obviously have some resistance we got to go through, but we're not too far away. We were at 605 was the highest. We got to get to 613. That could happen in one good week. And I don't know. Do we have Jerome Powell this week? Somebody remind me if we have Jerome Powell coming out this week, and maybe he clobbers my entire theory and opinion on it. But we'll see what happens. Otherwise, really good start to the week. Maybe at the open you get a little pullback, some still fears, concerns, but look for support. We're kind of smack in the middle between support and resistance, but the next, like we said, resistance somewhere around 602. BGL says yes, so we do have some Jerome Powell coming out. All right, if we pull back, look for $600, $600.02 to hold. If it goes a little bit lower, a big key one for my theory to work out, we're gonna have to stay above this 599.44. And then I think we are probably trapping a couple of bears, and let's see if we can get some bulls to just rally this thing out of this little sideways chop. But that's my bold prediction. We'll see how it plays out. Let's not put some bets on it or anything, but I think it's a possibility for this week. And if it does happen, you heard it first. If it doesn't happen, we'll have to talk about it again. All right, we'll see how it plays out. We got the Qs. Qs also a little bit of gap and go. Still inside day. You have 531.51 is the resistance. We hit that on Friday as well, so we're just kind of back into that resistance range, but we messed with it before. Easier to get taken out. You got 532.54 is your next probable big target, and then next resistance 533.32. Anything past that, you got one last one 535.13, and then we're shooting for 538.92 zone. So we'll see, but you gotta have these panic days. You gotta have these sell-off days, things that look a little bit ugly, and then you got a gap above it, which is exactly what we're doing right now. So we'll see how everything wants to play out. Let's take a look at TLT. TLT gapping down still, so still a little bit of concern in bond land, but For right now. Just still chilling. You have support 85, 82. We did hit that on Friday. So the next spot to hold, 85.46. Otherwise, really good resistance, 86.23. I think if we get above that, TLT could actually rebound kind of nicely, but we'll see. It is a little bit still weak all over the place. Bitcoin, BTC, USD. The biddy hanging in there. Yeah. Not amazingly bullish, but not amazingly bearish either. So we're just doing nothing. And a lot of times that chop is good. So we came in. This should have been the retest after a really good breakout, just kind of running into that little bit of resistance, pull back down. That hammer comes at a pretty sweet place, staying above this 104.815. And the next resistance, it looks like we're breaking out of some support here. Probably next resistance 107.824, and then we got like 108.614, something to that effect. But yeah, we'll see how this week plays out. Again, we're gonna have some not too many earnings reports. I think we do have some companies reporting earnings. None of the bigger ones. I think we have some home builders maybe today. Otherwise, I don't see too much volatility from that. In terms of the entire market, obviously those individual companies will have some reactions, but we will see. First ones I see, Palantir. Palantir gapping up into all-time highs, so they're almost all-time highs. I think we were here before. Nope, all-time highs on Palantir. This is a little bit of a retest gap. Who doesn't love Palantir? It is up there. Maybe it just keeps going. I would have to wait for 137.98 for at least a little bit of a pullback. Beautiful looking gap. Would not shock me in the least if this thing opens and just continues to run. We are above 140, which is a good psychological number. So we'll get this one up here. Um, but if you're in this thing long, be okay holding it for a $2 pullback. Otherwise, other way to try to play this thing as a day trade, see if we get that high wave candle, a little bit of indecision. Obviously, if this thing opens and runs, then it leaves me with very, very little opportunities to try to play that as a little bit of a day trade at least. AVAV, so a little bit of a defense name. This one is also a gap for today, but it is a retest gap. You are gapping into resistance. It still looks kind of healthy where it looks, I mean, we're still above that hammer, which is nice. Got to clear through some resistance, big resistance, 196.78, and then I think this one could be off to the races as well, at least into some of these psychological numbers, which the next spot takes me to about 202.49, 202.50, something like that. But I think this one probably at open gets the fade. This one would be actually a good candidate for a high wave candle. So small pullback into 195.06, and then probably take the break of that, which should be that resistance as well. And that might be decent for continued push in a bullish direction. But man, this thing has ran. This thing has ran. I think it wants more though. You're into a longer term heavy VPOC spot, and yeah, looking for like 199.18, get you above the highest volume of that last set anyway. So decent on that one. Still looks bullish. I think this one looks to continue, but would not be shocked if there's a small little pullback. I did see X. X is an interesting gap. Yeah. Is this an all-time high gap? It is. Yes, I mean I'm saying I think the SPY has a great possibility of all-time highs this week. Who knows what news comes out? Who knows what wants to just step on my theory? But some of these individual names are they're already kind of doing it. So good gap on this one. Again, you're gapping into all-time highs. It can get some momentum to keep going. Obviously, there's days where this thing could get some big moves. I don't. Let's see what the news is. Trump administration approved a 14.1 billion sale to. Okay, so the sale got approved. Be careful on this one. I think probably most of that's priced in. I think a lot of that's been priced in, and this might be a sell the news type thing. Really, really good gap. I think at least worst case, you're looking for some kind of retest 53.99. Be careful on this one. Obviously, running to all-time highs. I have no targets. If this thing just opens and runs, I wouldn't be shocked either. But that deal that a lot of people were expecting. All of those people, I think, are probably interested in maybe locking some profits on that one. Very interesting move. All right, we got NVIDIA. NVIDIA looks interesting as well. Gap and go for the day. Let's just check out that weekly candle. I don't think we did too much. Yeah, we just kind of hung out. Again, for what seemed like a boring, wild week, and it was a little bit just tight range week. There was a lot of news, but nothing really. We didn't really break out too much. We didn't really go too crazy. We have a gap and go for the week with today's open. If we can hang out here for another 17 minutes, that's impressive. I also had this one pretty high on my list as well. You are opening into a little bit of resistance, so maybe that first candle doesn't go green. Maybe get some profit taking into that resistance. Otherwise, the next target on this one takes me to about 144.51. That gives me about $1.20 to the higher side from here, from open, or if this is where we open. And then we get past that, and I think we're off to the races to the next target, which is 146.25. So I would keep my eyes on that one. Again, still inside day from Friday, still inside the weekly candle, so it's not a gap and go outside of the full range of everything, but that's a good looking open. AMD I see on the list as well. You guys thrown out there. That is another just fantastic looking gap, and I think we are slightly above that resistance. Yeah, so this is a retest gap. Retest gap, but the location of this one I like a lot. So as long as we stay above 118.84, I would be bullish. You got that 200 there. We've anytime we've gotten into that 200, we didn't really stop. Even on this day, we went a little bit further than it. We got past it. We're not using that as a hard stop. This day, we cleared right through it. We bounced off of it. But what did we do before closing above that? Well, we did run from 108.51 into 124.52 without really any pullback. Where's a good, healthy pullback? Yeah, somewhere right around this 116 zone, somewhere right around this 115 zone. I was saying, I think 115 is a good spot. And we are above all that. We are bouncing and we have good support. I think next target on this one, 120.79. If that's all we get today, that's okay. But that would also, if we could skip another move, locking us back above this 200. We need some of those moving averages to catch up. So it might not be the quickest bounce out of here, but as long as we could keep hovering and dancing around this 200, that would set us up decent. And again, what I like on this one a lot is this. And this is going to be a heavily defended zone, but anything past 121.98, so we'll call it 122, we start to get in the zone where there's just no volume on the side until about 138-ish. So AMD could be setting up for a fairly decent move. We just got to hang into the zone. We got to get some more closing above that 200. It looks really, really good for a gap up for today. Let's check that weekly candle on this one as well. Weekly candle, not outside of the opening range. So you're still down on the week, even after this gap, but you are starting to, and good volume that came in most of last week as well. So I don't if most of that volume was some selling. Also, out of curiosity, let's just examine what type of gap this was last week. What kind of gap was this? Well, we got a green candle here. We open up here, and all we really did was just retest the closing price, and it was a retest gap. So that's still looking fairly good. Looks like the last spot we got rejected was that 100 EMA on a weekly. I think we continue higher on AMD. And I have some positions on it, so I do have some options on it. And for anybody, I know I forget who was buying. We talked about First Solar last week at some point after their earnings, and then they had this kind of red candle that came in. Let's see, was it their earnings? No, it wasn't their earnings. It was something else. I forget why we were looking at this one. I forget what day it was, but either way, we had targets. I think it was this. It was one of these days. I think it was one of these days toward the low end. Yeah, we were gapping above that 200. I was looking for targets into 179, so we had some options. So if you did buy some options, I thought I got out at all of them. I was trying to hold as long as I could to this 187, but it was kind of a little choppy market. But on Friday, we got to that 179. I thought I sold all of them. Somehow my broker didn't sell one of them, so I still have one of those riding, and we'll see if that could push a little bit higher. But for solar, we've already run into that resistance. It is a retest gap for today, so I'm going to try to hold. My only problem with those options is they expire. Actually, no, they expired July 3rd, so I do have a little bit more time on it. So, all right, that makes me feel better. I'll try to see if we get some kind of holding somewhere around this 175.64, and then the other one I'll just try to sell up there. So just to keep you guys up to date, because I know some of you guys got some calls on that one as well. I thought I sold everything at that price because I didn't think I had that much time, but my calendar, I'm so off on what day it is. Hims, still not really doing much. We're still not bad. We're waiting for some of those other moving averages to kind of catch up a little bit. Hovering above the 200 for today. Um, Depends on where we open. If we open right where we're at now, I could see us getting a little bullish at open. You have a big resistance still somewhere around 56.32, and then you got your next move to 56.68. I think for a day trade, there's probably better opportunities. However, if at any point we get above 57.45, that would set us up for more continued bullishness. It doesn't look like we're really dropping. It looks like the bulls trying to hold this thing, keep us above that 20 EMA on a daily, and then see if we get our next push eventually. But I don't know if today's the push. I think there's probably some better names with a little bit more momentum. Still looks good if you're in it though. Airbnb, nice little gap and go for today as well. You have a little decent resistance coming in somewhere around this 138.10. See if this one might want to pull back first, and then even if we clear that, the next spot I got is like 138.88. So for a day trade basis, mm, I don't. I there might be too much resistance for me. If this thing wants to pull back to, let's call it 136.85, somewhere in that zone, I think I'd start to look. And then if you get back to like 136.18, I think that gets you really good risk reward. So somewhere in that range, somewhere around those two spots would be the first one. I would just be looking, seeing what kind of candles. The second one, if we get there, that might be an opportunity for continued there's a newer spot to get in, I think, which would be really good risk reward. You do have higher highs, higher lows, so that looks decent. You're not at all-time highs on this one. It's got a long way to go to get there. You have up to 161. You're in a spot right now where there's a little bit of volume, and then you get that next break, 139.49-ish, 140, and then you start to approach that heavier volume. I think if we start clearing and getting above 145, that really sets us up. But for right now, I think a little chop fest. Roku looked great. Not Roku, Roblox. I was looking at. Let's see what Roku's doing. Roku also looks good. Mm-mm. The next target I see is about $84.98. Let's put this one higher on the list. Gapping above a whole heck of a lot of VPOCs, plus it is a gap and go as well. That one looks fairly interesting to me. Maybe we get a little pullback into $80.93. That'd be cool. Give me the better risk reward, but yeah, Roku looks good. Roblox is the one I was looking at pre-market. Again, this is just a massive run from $50 into you're almost up 100% since April, which is just wild. But it is still looking like it wants more. I think we're not at all-time highs. No, so we're not there yet. But it is a little bit of a retest gap. See if this one wants to pull back a tad. Look for some kind of support if you get it somewhere around 97.45. And it looks to me like it wants to go a little bit higher on that one. Celsius did get an upgrade. Celsius with a little bit of an upgrade. That one is gapping up. Again, not to all-time highs, but more than likely, I think this earnings report back here was probably Celsius throwing a little bit of a bottom in. That's also when they bought the what is it, Alani company. I think I said that right. I'm not sure. But that's kind of when momentum started to shift a little bit. Nice gap up, faded the entire thing, held it, higher lows, well above the 200. And that one looks good for more continuation as well. I think you're in a zone where there's nothing holding you back. So according to volume, at least you got $47.13. This is a little bit of a momentum stock. It is a retail stock too. So let's see if this one high waves. High waves out of the gate, and I'll see if I can take advantage of Celsius for today. It's got some room in it. So that one looks good. A lot of really interesting good names today. Interesting. Shopify. Mm, Shopify is okay. Back above the 20. That's important. Gap and go from yesterday or from Friday. That's important. You have a little bit of resistance, 107.69. I'd say this one wants to fade a little bit, 106.60. Otherwise, if you do break above this 107.58 zone, your next spot going to take you to a 108.90. It's not going to give you a heck of a lot of room. Possibly running into like 109.34. That would kind of cover or take us into this little gap fill zone. So probably a lot of people look for that 109.34. Anything above it sets us off decent. But still above all moving averages, looks good. You're still putting in the higher highs, higher lows, and let's see how this one does. Again, I'm a little concerned about the range on it, so I might stay away for me personally. Chewy also looked oddly good. Chewy, high wave candle, tons of volume on that gap down. Makes sense. That's off of earnings. They did beat on revenue. They missed by 10% on earnings per share. But the location of where we are opening today, so after that panic sell-off, you didn't get continued panic sell-off. You got 2 more days of hanging out inside day. We have a little bit of resistance that's right above us, somewhere around $42.02. So maybe at open, that's going to be somebody's target, and we get some kind of 42.08, let's call it. Maybe there's a little resistance, but you should have decent support 41.79 and 41.61. I think a lot of people would be looking for this gap fill, which would take us up to like 85.82. However, I don't know if that's my target for today, but I think we could possibly get into this 44.35 zone. So I think this one has a little bit of room. You're above the opening price of that candle. You're above a bunch of moving averages, or a bunch of VPOCs on this little last 3 days of trading at least. Maybe enough for some bulls to step in. So I'm watching that one. I do have that one on my list, kind of high as well. TTD did not look that great at open. I looked at that one pre-market. You have a wide gap on this one. So if we gap fill, that's going to take you back down to $6.17. We are opening into a little bit of resistance. It is a retest gap as well. The rest of the market so far kind of hanging out. We're not melting quite yet in the rest of the market. See if this one wants to come down a little bit further though. That's not a. It is doing something a little bit different from the market. I feel like if you own TTD and you're like, how come the rest of the market is moving higher? Everything else looks like it's going to be a gap and go in TTD. You might be a little sad, depressed, and maybe you're trying to move money into something else that is kind of on fire a little bit. And a lot of these people are probably still wildly profitable. So see if this one wants to come down to like 65.08 though, and then maybe you get that little bit of a retest, pushes you right back into 68, about $68 on TTD. So we'll see. It is definitely do something different. I could definitely see us if we start breaking through this 64.89 zone. The next spots down is a decent amount further, 61.34 and $60. So pick your poison, but it is a retest gap. You've had some selling. There was some strength in this thing prior, and let's see if that support is good enough to hold it. If not, you also have a decent amount of room to the downside on that one. You got Upwork, UPWK. Meta's got a $20 move pre-market. Upwork is technically gap and go for today. It got into an interesting support. It's still there, $13.82. I don't love the fact that we're below 1428. I don't love the fact that we're below the 200, but it is looking for gap fill. I'm not sure if we fully made that gap fill yet. That gap fill to me would be about $13.60. I think at worst, and I think this one will. I wouldn't be the first one stepping on this one. Maybe it opens and runs. Anything is possible. The markets are the wild, wild west, and you're not sure ever how they want to treat these things. But historically, I would say you open, you're still on the lower end of that kind of sell-off candle that was below that 200. I think worst case, this thing probably pulls back to 1384, maybe breaches it, comes a little bit lower into that 1359, 1360 zone. And then if it's going to try to bounce, it could bounce from there. Um, Very, very close to that gap fill, just didn't quite bank it. You did run into that support. So we'll see. But either way, if you're going to try it bullish, I'd be waiting for 1382, something in that zone, and then see if that wants to hold that support or comes down a little bit further. Uh, but yeah, looks not as strong as some of the other names. Let's check out that Meta $20 pre-market jump. Very interesting. Another one that did not close very well. I would have been looking for some kind of support on this one, somewhere around 684.73. And not only did we breach it, but we closed lower. So that is a sign that this was a little bit weaker on Friday. Pretty phenomenal gap up today. It is a gap and go. You are up $20. I'm gonna have to move this one higher on the list. There is definitely resistance right above us. I'm gonna determine what I want to do with this one after this opens, I think. If we are, the line in the sand really is 697.75. Definitely, I want to stay above that. This one we're staying above 698.91, and then we have 699.60. So we're not above that one yet. And then you have a very, very big resistance, about $700.76. Somebody's up $20 overnight on this one. Maybe that resistance is a little too good for today. Maybe we need tomorrow. Maybe another a little bit of a pullback. The really honestly, the closer I can get to 692.69, the better. But if we start to break, and it doesn't look like we're going to open there, but if we start to break $700.99, then I think Meta might continue to show some strength and just rip higher from here. But watch that one, possibly high wave candle. I like that gap and go a lot though. This is a very weak close. That. However, that is the morning bell. So make sure you guys hit that like and subscribe button in YouTube land if you have not done so already. You guys are incredible, and I'll catch you.